So the final piece of preparation for this first session then is to complete this template, and it's what we call the vision builder. And we found it a really useful way to just get everybody's thinking along the same lines, to get us all to capture some of those key things that we've probably got in our heads, but actually get them down on paper in a way that we can share with other people. So we'd like it that you're comfortable to be able to share the actual template, what you write down here, but in the sessions itself to be able to share a few bullet points from it. So ideally we would share the screen, but you would then talk us through one or two of the key aspects of it so that we've got a bit more of an understanding about not just you as a person, which we've done with the leadership profiling a little bit earlier, but your business and where you're headed and what your vision is for the business. So it's pretty simple template, and we're not after war and peace here. This is not, we don't want lots and lots of time and lots of words being spent in doing this. What we'd like is a few key bullet points. But having said that, think about it and don't just write down the first thing that comes on your head, if you like, but actually think it through a little bit and just think, hang on, what is this really about? What am I trying to get across here? So if we start with the top left here, so I'm going to start basically with the top boxes, the top half of this document, and then come to the bottom half second. So I'm going to work my way from the top left here. So initially, what are the key problems or the key pains that you're trying to solve for your customers? So not just what do you do, but what is the problem that your customers have that you are trying to provide a solution for? You've probably got that. Just put that straight down there, but make sure you've really thought about it from the customer perspective there. And then the second bit there is, of course, who is your ideal customer? So who is the one that has those pains and those problems that you want to solve? So describe as best you can your ideal client. Now I know we've all got a mix of clients, but you should be familiar with this idea of a client avatar or an ideal client. But let's capture it here so that we can all share in that and see who you consider to be your ideal client. Then moving along to the middle column here. Okay, so what is it that you do to solve the problem? So this is the what do you do? What are your key offerings? But then the second part is what makes you different? What gives you the edge? So there's bound to be, unless you're literally in an industry or in a sector where you're the only one delivering it, there are going to be other people that provide a similar offering to you. So what is it that you consider that gives you that edge, that makes you different, and the reason why people might want to come to you as opposed to somebody else? And try and think about that. If you haven't, you've probably already got that, because we're all businesses that have got to a decent point, but really make sure you've got that nailed from a customer perspective. And it links a little bit with the next one, is what are you, or what can you be the best at? Now, those of you familiar with the idea of the hedgehog principle, this is about focus, but it is what is it that your business can be the best at? If not the best in the world, maybe the best in your region, the best in your area, or one of the very best at, so that what is it that gives you that edge, but also that you are really bloody good at? And that's why we should come to you. If we then move along to the next column, then okay, so where are we headed? What is our vision for the future? Now you can look at this at pretty much any time point that you like, 10 or 15 years time, fine. But if that's too far, and it may be with the current crisis and everything that's going on, then maybe think about the question. And in fact, this is one of the ones that we tease out and ask you to bring to the group. If we were sat here in 5 years time, maybe that's a good time frame for you, 5 years time, what would have to have happened within the business, but also professionally, for you to consider that to be a success? So there's a little bit of a mix in there, but essentially, where are we trying to get to with the business in a time frame that is not so short that it's just this year or shorter, but that actually we're looking ahead, that's meaningful in terms of time, that we can actually achieve something. So what are we, where are we trying to get to? And the second part of that, of course, is how will we know when we've got there? It's all very well saying, we're going to be this wonderful big company or something, or we're going to have solved all these problems for all of these people, but how will we know when we've actually got there? So what are the metrics that you could identify to establish when you've got there? And what is your profit engine or your hero product? And that links across a little bit to what are you the best at, perhaps. But a lot of us will have developed many services or products within our range of offerings that we have, and some are more successful than others. What is the one for you that you consider to be your flagship product, and that links back with what you can be the best at and what gives you an edge? That's ideally what we're looking for here, is something that if we were to focus our efforts on, that might be the one that will drive the bulk of our growth, whether that be in turnover, but certainly what we're looking for is in terms of profits, really, and cash flow here. So what is our profit engine, our flagship product or hero product within there? And if you can identify those things in those top boxes there, that's a really good summary of why we're in business and where we're headed to, and how we know that we will get there, and what it is that makes us different from other people offering something ostensibly similar to what we do. Then if we come below the break there, you'll see on the left-hand side from your leadership profile, what we're after there are your leadership strengths and your leadership challenges, which we've identified already, and what animal are you. So remember, that's the panther, the monkey, the dolphin, or the owl. And as I said in the earlier video, you may be a combination of one or more of those. You're not necessarily going to be a pure dolphin. You might be a dolphin with monkey tendencies, or perhaps a dolphin with owl tendencies. But whatever you are, tease those out, and that will give us all an idea of where you're positioned, what type of animal you are. Don't worry about this middle box here about the value builder score and your value driver focus, because that's the focus of the second session. So we'll come to that later. And then the final part across the right there is identifying what are your biggest challenges or frustrations, both externally and internally. So you've talked above about where we're trying to get to, what success looks like maybe in 5 years' time, but what do we see as being the biggest things that get in the way there? And there'll be some sector things, some market things, and it might be lack of talent. Maybe it's finding the right people that is the biggest barrier for you, perceived externally, but also internally. What is the biggest challenge you've got internally, whether that be with a particular aspect, and maybe it's the sales, the lead generation side, maybe it's something else, but what is it internally that might be a barrier to you getting to where you want to get to? And this begins to get us to be thinking about how we can help each other to overcome some of these challenges. So that's a quick whiz through the vision builder. So we'd like you to come prepared to be able to share the document itself. Ideally we share it on screen, but also so that you're able to just talk through the key bullet points. So we're not really after you going through box by box on that vision builder, although we'd like you to be able to share it so that we've all got an idea, but specifically these are the things that we'd like you to cover. So just as a quick reminder, who are you, what is your business, what pains you solve? You can see that from the vision builder. What makes you different? Also, if we're meeting in 5 years' time, we've talked about that. What's your biggest challenge, frustration? So we've talked about that as well. What are your 3 key leadership strengths and challenges? And how is your behavioral profile? So what animal are you? And how was that an example maybe of how that's helped you or hindered you in the past? So we find that if we go through the bullet points in this way, there's a reasonable chance that you'll be able to cover those in less than 10 minutes, which means that there's plenty of time then for others in our group to be able to ask you questions about it, so you don't spend all the time talking. Because what you'll find, where the value comes from these sessions, is from the questions that other people ask you, not from you. Well, there's some element from you presenting, because just getting your thoughts together is useful, but we want to keep that nice and succinct so that there's plenty of time for you to be challenged. And equally, when it comes to your turn to challenge other people, there's plenty of time for you to ask the questions that you want to really probe and challenge the other people within your group. So if you could do those things, you'll be able to come prepared for that first session, really well prepared, and we'll then be able to go through that, spend the most time possible on working with each other, understanding each other, and ending up then at the point where we've got some takeaways to help us to improve potentially our leadership style, but also maybe working with other leaders within our businesses, but also that we've got some thoughts from other people about how clear our vision is and our focus and all of those key aspects of the vision builder that we've talked about. So look forward to seeing you at the first session.